Hey, welcome to Walk Corner. This is Guido. Got another replay for you here. We are on Arctic region with a pretty good team. We are on the south spawn. I want to talk a couple things here. The main point of this video is that you can take scouts into some of the brawling areas and actually do a pretty good job by being very annoying. The other thing is reading the teams. You take a look at the teams initially. I have a couple decisions on this map. Lights and mediums typically go up to the northwest, and the heavies typically go down to the southeast and brawl in this area. But I'm going to show you a light that can get down in here and do some pretty good work. Now let's not get crazy. I'm not saying that light should always go where the heavies brawl. I'm not even saying on this map that's particularly a great place to take a light. But with a tank like the RU and the setup I've got, a bunch of heat, spamming the gold, and then taking a look at the teams. The reason I say that is when I loaded in and looked at this, I noticed how heavy they were up top. The 103s, the T10, the T34, even the T30. If you take a look at us, we've got a couple heavies and then some tanks, TDs that are difficult to use down in that alley. If they can get that kind of straight shot down through this area, then they can do pretty well, but they're not very maneuverable. So they're okay with stopping, but they're not very good on pushing or maneuvering. But I thought, well, if I take my light up to the northwest, the typical spot, or troll around the middle, I'm probably just delaying the inevitable, especially if all those heavies come pushing down through here. That's usually a recipe for disaster. Additionally, as I looked at it, the top players were not that great, and I felt like maybe I could abuse them a little bit down here in the southeast, so that's what I'm going to actually do. I'm expecting the 103, hopefully the Type 4 Heavy, maybe the T30. To come down with me. You'll see that actually I lead a fairly decent pack of tanks down here, and we actually have somebody moving up towards the north, which is fine. The Tortoise actually went that way. Would have been nice to have him down in the south. There is some arty, so that can be an issue down here, especially where I'm working. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dive down to the low road. I don't want to be on the high road. You're just going to get punched in the face. There's really no cover right there. If you get to the low road, there's this corner here you can work and this ramp, which is how I'm going to do it. If you take a look at the back behind me there, we have a couple, 3 heavies, 4503, the Type, already in back supporting, and here comes another scout. That scout's going to be important, at least initially. Now this is interesting right here. You see me come up here. I'm going to take this corner spot right here, show you what I'm doing, and I'm just going to go ahead and lock in. I'm waiting for that first heavy, medium, whatever it is, to come around the corner, get a free shot, and I'll immediately back up. Notice that these 2 heavies have stopped right here. Something's got their attention. Their turrets are actually turned towards those 2 lights down there, and they've stopped. They've stopped their deployment to see if they can get some shots on the lights. When you're in a heavy and you're going to your initial deployment spot, unless you have a very good shot, don't stop. It exposes you to arty, potentially exposes you to crossfire, although it would have to be somebody fairly close to get those 2 guys. Probably the biggest thing is it slows you down from getting to your deployment point. And these guys actually are slowed down, and that allows us a little more time to get in position. Those scouts are doing me a favor, however, because they have lit up a couple, and I at least know that there's a T29 and a 103. I expect there to be quite a bit more. Pretty typical. They've got a scout on their hill. Usually there's a TD up there. Now here comes the T10. I back out just to see his relative speed, so I have a good idea of when he's going to show up. There he is. Whack, and the first shot of the abuse for him, and it's going to go poorly for the rest of the day. I'm actually going to come out here and get a really lucky shot. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I saw him backing up, so I knew if he was moving, his dispersion would be relatively large, so I thought that was a risk I could take. However, now that he's locked in, that's just not a smart move to come around that corner. He's going to pin nearly anything he hits. I mentioned that 1375 earlier. What he's done is giving them something to look at as they come around that corner and give us a little SA on what is up top. So it looks like we got a T34, T29, a couple 103s, and the T10. That's quite a bit, but we've got some pretty heavy hitters up here. T30, Yag Tiger, Type 4. Let's see how it goes. I'll show you what I'm doing with my camera. Initially a little indecision. I thought maybe I'd poke around the corner and get some SA, but based on being a T10 and a T30, I could more or less be eliminated from the game by one inopportune poke. So I'm going to come up here and shoot the upper plate of a 103 because that seems like a good idea. With heat, no. And I'm going to, I believe, do it twice, because why not? Yep, and then right into the mantlet. Okay, so now we've got the T30 pushing, or thinking about pushing, and the T10. If they'd have just both come around the corner, they'd have ended me pretty quickly. Our T30 has just died. The JT, the Type, and the 4503, I have virtually zero help behind me at the moment. So I'm just going to have to work here as best I can. I'm thinking, man, that T30's coming. The good news is I'm proxy lighting them, and look at that. JT to the rescue. So that's a guy that realized what's happening. He wasn't doing much good right there. Saw them pushing around. He knew he couldn't let them on his flank. There was only me down there, and he's going to actually push in there, and this is a great deal for the team. I'm going to hit him, and then I'm going to do what you can do with a scout in heavy brawling areas. I know the T30 is busy with the JT. I'm pretty certain that T10, based on the other tanks that are shown on the map, is the only guy back here. So I'm going to come down here and do a little circle action on him, which goes okay, except I'm not quite as maneuverable as I want to be, because I get up on this hill stuck and whack, I get hit. Okay, what he needed to do right here, I'm actually going to sneak right by him. He needed to just back right into me. He may have even tracked me. At the very least, he'd have slowed me down, but he lets me go right by. And while I'm fixing things, this is something else to watch out for. I actually switch over to HE like a bozo. So I was fixing, I believe it was a turret and a gunner maybe. Look at that. We'll talk about that HE in just a minute. You see that JT just back up and get out of my way? That was an excellent move. He knew I was coming through, knew I needed to get by, and I was going to help him survive down here. That was great. Back to the HE. So I was repairing some things. Somewhere along the way I inadvertently ham-fisted, fat-fingered in number 3 for HE. So I'm going to sit here like a moron and shoot some HE for a while. I don't actually realize it for a while. The 103 comes down to the bottom, so now we're dealing with 3 tanks down here, although we're still stoppering them up top, and we're losing, but we're hanging in. I actually pop him with HE. No surprise I didn't do anything. Still don't realize that I've got the HE. I'm using that 1375 as cover. If I'd have poked up and over right there without that 1375, things would have been very bad for me. I actually track him. T10 has a pretty decent depression, especially to the side there, so he actually gets a shot I didn't expect him to get on me. That's where I realized that I had HE, when I did 100 odd to the side of the 103. And now the JT is doing some good work keeping these guys off of him. The reason I came back down here now is because I had seen that they both fired, and the 103 is a one-shot. So I'm thinking I might be able to eliminate one of these guys and help this JT out. Turns out yes. And now he's going to have a much easier time with the T30. I'm going to come back to the top, get a shot on the T10 and keep working on him. Again, the T29 and the 103 up top are fighting away. This T30 does a nice job turning his turret just at the last moment to stop me from pinning him. The JT continues to work it. One more shot into him. Shot into the T30. So, as I stated at the beginning of the game, a light tank down brawling with the heavies can be extremely annoying based on the DPM, the maneuverability, and working with the other tanks down there. You can see that these guys are in a bit of a kerfuffle. Not really sure which way to turn. I keep showing up and hitting them, but they both are working to get rid of me. Now the T30 is going to come around, so I say, all right, this is my opportunity. He's fired. He's trying to push the JT. I think I can kill him off, and there we go. JT takes a hit. T10's busy with the JT, and I'm just going to come up and over. I wish I'd have gone a little faster. I was trying to see if that T29 was looking at me. He didn't seem to be, so it took me a few moments. Fortunately, the T10 wasn't able to kill the JT. That could have cost us the JT right there. And now I'm going to come around. So working this lower road, a larger meta discussion on this map. Once you win down here and you've got guys up on this side, you come up on this ramp, which is why it's so nice to win the low area and start hitting them in the side or into the back. Same thing applies coming the other way. This ramp, if they're camping around this corner right here, you can do the same thing. You see that the northwest is fighting away. They've turned the corner, but we've still got some pretty big tanks down there. And now I'm going to shoot this guy in the back 3 or 4 times with not a single fire. No idea if I'm doing any module damage. That's actually in the back of the turret. Again in the back deck, nothing. Back deck, nothing. And I'm down to 1 heat round, which I'm going to shoot into his tracks. Bounce an AP round off his top hole. Actually goes into his tracks. I did track him. And he dies. Alright. So there you go. We've cleaned up down here. I was maximum annoying. Racked up 3,400 damage. Look, it was a bit permissive. There was a lot of things had to go right there. As I discussed at the beginning of the game, it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily doing this to tell you that that's how you fight an RU all the time or how you fight a scout all the time on this map, but it can end up working out pretty well. In addition, the Artie, for whatever reason, completely ignored me right there. That is a very exposed where I was working to Artie, so it's interesting that they didn't nuke me. They must have been shooting at the Heavies or something else. So I'm thankful for that. So a lot of things had to go right. I do realize that, but it is fun and it can work very well to have scouts being annoying down in the heavy brawling area. And just based on what I was seeing from the get-go on this map, I figured I had to do something a little bit different to make this happen. Now granted, we had a very good team. Kind of a bad setup, but a very good team. Now I'm going to come up here. Initially I was going to go back to the cap, and that's something I would usually do right there, but based on the quality of the players and the fact that we still had 3 tanks back there working on them, I figured we could get up here, maybe clean up the Artie, and if I had to go back at that point to reset, I would. I think most people would have chose to go back right there, but I was rolling the dice a little bit. I like these 2 tanks. I'm going to go up on this little ramp here and see if I can hide at least from one of them. That guy does not seem to be paying attention to me. Make a bad decision and actually shoot into the wood here for some reason. I don't know why. I think he sees me now. He actually spotted me, but I think he's now aware. You can see his gun go up. He's trying to find the range to take that shot. Zoom in, but too late. The other guys died up on the other side there. The other Artie was killed by our guys coming up over top. And that's pretty much it. 3.7 thousand ace tanker game. RU251 on Arctic region. Fighting and brawling with the Heavies being maximum annoying. Take it easy, guys.